Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Rebecca. I am a spiritual medium and animal communicator. I feel that the energies of Mother Earth are really present. I mean, she's present every day, but really present. And I think a lot of that has to do with honouring Earth Day yesterday. There were so many posts on social media about different things connecting into the earth. And I could feel that energy all around. And talking about energy, how we always say everything is connected. Over on my animal communication channel on YouTube yesterday, The Words of the Wild, I was talking about how our energetic frequencies and the energy that we're putting into our homes affects our animals, and how our animals need time to relax, reset, and kind of ground, sometimes away from human company as well. But I was really thinking today about the energy in our homes in general, and not just our homes, but connecting into the land, and how important it is that the land is also cleansed when we move into our homes and the places that we decide to spend a lot of time in. And so I was struggling about where to put this video, on which channel to put it on. I may well share it on both, but I do feel it's quite important in our spiritual journey as humans to look at this perspective. I, over many years, have been fascinated with paranormal. I've watched a lot of shows where people have said that their houses are haunted, and people have tried to gain evidence of supernatural occurrences. But something that I have found, not only in my own work and my own experiences growing up, is that spiritual activity takes on many different forms. And because everything is energy, we often think about the supernatural, ghosts and things being a little bit scary, things that we can't see. But we can't see our own energy, and we don't realize what we're putting out into the earth every single day, and into the people that we interact with, and into everything really that we do, everything that we interact with, everything we touch. For example, if you're making a cake and you're really angry, that cake is going to have the energy of your anger within it, and that's going to come out in that cake. It's probably not going to taste very nice. It may not even rise very well. If you're working in your garden and you're talking to your plants and flowers and thanking them for blooming, and for growing vegetables, you're thanking them for the nourishment that they give you, you'll find that your garden will flourish. And that's all energy. That's our energy interacting with the energy of another. And so thinking about hauntings, hauntings are always kind of, on TV and in movies. It's always something really terrifying. Things are getting thrown around, usually a lot of like poltergeist activity. But really, there's many different forms, and I think that it's probably a subject that could be gone into very deeply. So we're not really doing that today. This is just kind of an overview, but it's made me think about not only interacting, the way that our energy interacts with others and the energy that we're putting into our own homes, but also on a grander scale, the energy of the energy that goes into the land that our homes are built on, and all of those kind of things. So within Hollywood, you'll see everything's kind of exaggerated, everything's terrifying. You get these hauntings of malevolent spirits, but actually quite often you will have what is known as residual energy, perhaps in your home. If you've moved into a home and you found that things are, you might hear some funny noises and things that are outside of the norm of your home just settling, or, when you're in a new place, you have to get used to its kind of sounds. Outside of that, residual energy is an energetic imprint, and it's the imprint that we put everywhere. It's, I guess a way to describe it would be, it's like a recording of your energy, a recording of past events that get imprinted into the fabric of places. And that can be in the earth, it can be in buildings, it can be within, within items that have been very close to you, like treasured pieces of jewelry. So if you move into a house and you perhaps hear a door opening, but the door never opens, but you hear the door opening at the same time every night, that's not necessarily a haunting. It could be residual energy from either the people that lived there just before you, or hundreds of years ago from whatever was on that land. There was a time when, at that specific point in time, the door would be opened every single day at that same time, and you're hearing the replaying of the energetic imprint, the residual energy. So it's not a haunting as such. It's not like a being that's actually there. You can then get spirits who perhaps have struggled to move on. So when people die, if they feel that perhaps, say, in an example where maybe somebody died and the cause of death was unclear, or perhaps there was a very violent death and it's something that's being investigated, they may feel that they want to wait around to see justice done. Or in the case of somebody that just dies, and perhaps even though it would have been their soul contract to choose when they crossed over, they may not be just quite ready to leave. Perhaps there was going to be, say the birth of a grandchild or something significant that was going to happen, and they might want to just hang around just a little bit longer, just to see that happen. So you might be aware of their presence in that respect. And again, it's not a haunting. It's somebody that isn't quite ready to cross over yet. Some people also may not cross over because if they are perhaps afraid, perhaps that maybe they didn't really have a belief in the afterlife, or they perhaps led a very criminal life, something like that. And when they crossed over, they suddenly were met with the realization that it's not the end, there's something else, but I'm going to have to be accountable. They could then be afraid of what comes next. Or it might even be someone that was just afraid of dying. Maybe someone that didn't have a belief, didn't have a faith, and perhaps just a little bit afraid. So that could be anchoring them here. And those people sometimes may eventually go of their own accord. Obviously, they will have their spirit guides and their angels around them, and people that have gone before them, ancestors, that will come to let them know what has happened and to try to help them to move on. But sometimes they may not be quite ready. So sometimes they may need a little help in order to cross over. Something that is always portrayed, and I used to, when I was really young, I grew up, I always said I was aware of spirit from a very young age, and I've lived in active houses, and it's never really bothered me. It's kind of, it's what I've been used to, so it's not really bothered me. But when I was very young, I remember being afraid of, things might suddenly start flying around the room and things like that. And generally that doesn't happen. In all the years that I've been learning about these different things and on my own journey, those things are incredibly, incredibly rare that they happen. And, fortunately, unfortunately, it's very entertaining. Some people love that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of fakery. Now we have so much advanced technology. There's a lot of fakery, and people will pretend that, they have these crazy hauntings in their homes with things flying around, but you never quite see anything. It's always, just outside of the camera shot that you'll see it, or things that really don't make sense. And again, you have to use your discernment. If it doesn't seem quite right, then it probably isn't. So for anyone that is afraid of those kind of things, they are extremely, extremely rare. Something that can happen is it's what is known as an egregore, and it's basically, I never knew that there was a word for it until a few years ago when I was on a spiritual development course. But it's basically where the energies become so strong, they like your own projected energies, and it can be the energies of an individual or of a group. They become so strong, they almost become like their own form. They take on their own kind of, not a body, but they have their own kind of life force. And so you sometimes find, in cases where people believe they are experiencing a haunting, actually they might be going through a really stressful time in their life. There might be trauma associated with the land that the house is built on, and the energy around that can, if you imagine it kind of like a storm gathering and then turning into a tornado, it's that kind of thing. It's the energy becoming more powerful and kind of taking on a life of its own. So again, not really a real haunting, but it is energy, and it's all energy. All of these things are, they're just different levels of energy and the way that energy interacts and presents itself. But it got me thinking about, when we move into a new property, and I've always done this, it's important to, it's for us, it's like, oh wow, we're moving into a new home. It could be stressful if we've had to move out of another home in a stressful circumstance, so this isn't quite what we want, or it might be an exciting new adventure and we're moving into a new home. Perhaps it's our first home and you're really excited. That's brilliant. Unless it's, even if it's a brand new house, if it's a brand new house, you have to take into account, the tradespeople that worked on the house, that built it. They built the very fabric of your home. Were they coming to work every day, joyful, singing, having a laugh, building the house and enjoying what they were doing? Or were they resenting, working in all weathers, angry that the materials didn't turn up on time? So when they finally came to put these things together, they were, hammering things in anger, wishing the day away, hating their job, because all of that energy has also gone into the fabric of your home. Then you have the land that your property is built on. Do you know the history of it? Now, sometimes it can be quite hard. I've found, especially in England, if it's not like a listed house or something like that, it seems to be quite hard to find information about the land and what the land was used for before your property was built in some cases. If anyone does have any pointers in England for good places to look, do let me know in the comments, because I think it's something that's really interesting and very important as well to know, the land and the purpose of the land before our home was built. I think in places like America, perhaps the records are a little bit more easy to find. I'm not so sure. But, was the land, you hear a lot about, and I know it's in a lot of movies and things, and quite often you'll say, oh, it was like an Indian burial ground, or, slaves were kept there. And while sometimes that is true, that has also been used to worry and terrify people. It's not always the case. But things like that, where the land wasn't used for, good purposes and with kind intent, and people or animals were harmed upon the land, that can, that energy is held within the land, and, healing needs to be sent to the land to help it to regenerate and move on. And I think it's important as well that we acknowledge those things, rather than just wanting to clear it, oh, this awful thing happened. Even like modern day, if you move into a home where a crime has occurred, moving in and thinking, oh, it was awful, I just want to forget about it. Yes, that happened here, but let's never speak of it. Let's redecorate and move on. I think it's actually really important to honour what happened, to acknowledge it, so that those that were affected, that perhaps are now in spirit, they can feel seen. They can feel that, you've acknowledged what happened to them. And moving into a new home, thinking of all of those things, you also want to think about the previous residents. What were the previous residents like? Were they really happy? Did they put a lot of love into the home? Were they really stressed? Were they arguing all the time? When you go somewhere, if you're very sensitive, you can just feel the energy of a place, and you'll get that with people's homes. Or even if you go away, when you go away, to stay someplace on a weekend, some places can feel you can feel the energy is very busy, like with a big hotel, you can feel it's very busy, where lots of people have been in and out of the rooms and things like that. But if you go to like smaller places, like little cottages and, Airbnbs and things like that, you can feel, when you walk in, you can feel the kind of place that it is. You can either feel like the energy either feels welcoming and it feels homely. Those people that say, oh, this is like a home from home. You feel that you could curl up in an armchair and enjoy a cup of coffee and feel like you were relaxed and in your own home. And then there are those other places that you can't quite put your finger on it, but you just don't feel quite right there. You're picking up on the energy. It's the energy of not only what is in the fabric and in the land, but of the people that have been kind of coming and going. And that's why as well, it's very important to monitor, you know, we talk about having boundaries in our lives and the behaviors we will accept, but also about having people into your home. Your home is your safe space. It's your place to come and decompress and relax and shut the door on the world for some peace and quiet when you need it. So we want to be mindful of the energies that we let in and out of our home, as well as the energies that we create. And I think that when you move into a new home, what I've always done is kind of announced my presence to anyone that may be, you know, if someone hasn't, like I was saying earlier, if someone hasn't moved on, they may simply just be there, not stuck there. Perhaps they come to visit. Maybe they really loved the house and they took great pride in their home, and they're interested to see who's going to come and live here now, and they would like to see, are you going to look after it the same way? We can, as humans, we can be quite attached to material things, and it's understandable because our whole life is, you know, we are surrounded by material things, and the things that we have, such as our homes, we want to make them nice, we want to make them feel safe, and we want them to be enjoyable places to be. So somebody could still be quite attached to that, you know, that loving energy that they had with their home, and they've crossed over and they were perhaps a bit sad to leave their home. Now, in time, obviously, they'll come to realize that they don't need their home anymore. But in the interim, they may wish to come and see who's moving in. You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to redecorate? How are you going to redecorate? It may just be out of interest. So whenever I've moved into somewhere new, I've always kind of announced my presence and said, you know, thank you. This is my home now. I thank you for taking care of it, but I'm now going to be here to take care of it. If you would just like to see what we're doing, you're welcome. Anything that is in light and is in love is welcome. But this is not your home any longer, and I would ask you please to move on because it is my home now. And just go through and cleanse your home, open all the windows, use sage, play some music, make it really feel like yours. But what you don't want to do is to go in with this kind of aggressive, like, this is my home now, whoever's here, get out. Because that's not the intention. It's not going to set you off on the right foot energetically anyway. You're going in with negative energy. So it just yesterday, talking about the animals that we share our homes with and how they're affected by our energies, it just kind of opened me up to the wider thing of how we're affected. And sometimes we're affected, even the energy we're not creating, we're affected without knowing it because of the energetic imprints in our homes left behind from previous people, or from the people that built our homes, or from the land and the things that went on upon the land. So I think that we have to be really mindful of the energy, you know, as a whole when we are moving home, and also loving it. Now, it's funny because you can be in a home and you may have a lot of problems in a home. You know, if you've bought an older home, or perhaps you bought a home that needed a lot more work doing than you realised, which is the case with my home, you can find yourself being really resentful and thinking, oh, I hate this house. And I've done it myself. I hate this house. Ugh. You're throwing that. If you imagine standing in your living room with a bowl, you know, a bucket of paint, every time you said, I hate this house, you're throwing it at the walls, and think of the mess that you're going to make and how awful it's going to look. That's what you're throwing all around your house every time you do those things. So you have to kind of reframe it and be like, well, you know, I thank you for giving me safe shelter, because again, there's a lot of people that don't have a home, they don't have safe shelter, and they would love to be in your position. But that's not to detract from the way that you're feeling, because all our experiences are different. But to perhaps say to our home, you know, you're not quite where I would like you to be just yet, but we'll get there. Or, you know, I'm going to do the best I can to make you the nicest, coziest home possible. It totally changes the energy in your home, and you'll feel it as well. You'll feel like sometimes, have you ever gone to look at a property and you've walked in and it's just been really dark and the curtains are all open, but it's really dark. And it could be a bright sunny day and it's really dark. It's the energy. It's not it's the energy in there. And you have to work with it. And that's the thing. I think more and more we are starting to realize, and I know there are more studies being done now where people are realizing the strength and the gravity of energy and how we are interacting in the world, and that we are more than just a body. There is just so much more to everything that we are interacting with. And so I just really wanted to kind of bring that into your mind, really, because it's very easy that we go off to work, we come home, we take things for granted, and that's not in a selfish way. We don't even realize we're doing it. You might get up in the morning and you come down and you make a coffee. You don't think about the electricity coming into the home, the person who built the kettle, the person who invented the kettle, the fact that you've got, coffee, the people that got the beans for you to make the coffee, the people that stack the shelves in the supermarket, everything. There's so many people. It's not just one person. There's so many people, and we're all connected. And even when we say we're all connected on an energy level, which is completely true, we're all connected without realizing we're connected in our everyday lives as well. You pick up a mug. That was made. Somebody had that design. Somebody had that idea to put that design on a mug. Somebody chose how the mug was going to be made. And even things made in a factory, someone still has to operate the machines. Someone still has to oversee them and clean them. Someone still has to box up the stock and get it shipped out. Someone has to sit at a desk arranging the shipping. We're all connected on such a huge level. So it makes sense that when we're in our homes, it's not just us in our homes in these, little tiny boxes all over the world. We are thinking deeper about the fabric of the place that we call home, the land that it is built on, and giving thanks for all of those things and putting good energy into our interactions in those spaces. And also, looking to send healing to areas where it needs it. So yeah, it's just food for thought. It was something that after talking about how our energy affects animals, it's like I was just suddenly made aware of the fact that what about our homes? What about all of the things that make our homes? And deeper than that, the land in which the home was built. You can go to some places, some big tourist places you can go to, and you can feel the energy there, and the energy will either be really wonderful and uplifting, or you'll go and you'll think, oh, I don't like it. You might feel overwhelmed by the crowds. You might just feel something just feels off and you're not sure what it is. You're picking up on the energy. Another really interesting thing, which I don't know enough about yet, I've only just started diving into this, but I'm finding it fascinating, is about ley lines. And they are kind of like energetic power lines within the earth. Areas of concentrated energy, and you find a lot of those at Neolithic sites and things like that. So again, I don't know enough about that at the moment. I'm literally just dipping my toe into the water of learning about it, but it's really fascinating. So I would urge you to look into that as well as you're looking at the energy of your home. And I do know, I can't remember who it was. There was a video a long time ago. If I find out who it was, I will link it in the description. I'll come back and link it. But I saw somebody who actually did mapping. They were doing mapping of homes, and it was seeing, where they were in conjunction on the land to ley lines and different things, and helping people with this kind of thing, with the energetic balance of their homes, and deciding, placing certain things in certain ways. It's a little bit like, I guess it's a bit like feng shui, where within the home, you're guided to put things in certain areas so that the energy can flow more freely. And it is all about allowing the energy to flow in and out. And that's why I will always say it's really important to open your windows for fresh air, let out the old energy of the day before and to welcome in the fresh new day. I do that throughout the year, whatever time of the year, no matter how cold it is. The windows will always be opened for a significant period of time. So let me know if it's something you've considered before, if this is a completely new way of thinking to you. If you're interested in what I was talking about earlier and over on my other video, my other YouTube channel, The Words of the Wild, where I was speaking about how our energy and the environment we create affects our animal companions, please head over there and have a look. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting because it kind of came off the back of that video, but it's got me thinking a lot more deeply, and trying to look into the history of the land, finding out who built your home, finding out about previous tenants, and just respecting and honouring when you move house, to any energies that could be present that you want to obviously ask them nicely to please vacate so that you may now enjoy your new home, but to also put them at rest, to reassure them that you are going to look after the home now. And in the case of residual energy, that you might hear things that kind of go on repeat, like I was talking about at the start of this video. Those things generally do subside after time. Once you move in, they do subside. Again, you can go through and do some cleansing and healing and welcome in the white light into your space, just to clear the energies out. But generally they're just old energies replaying, so it makes sense just to clear it all and make it fresh and new for you to start your new life in your new home. I hope that's been helpful today. Do let me know in the comments. If you do like my work, please do like, share and subscribe. It really helps me to get my work out to other people. And I will speak to you again in another video. Thank you for listening. Take care.